unapologetic, unadulterated, uncompromising, unrelenting. This is the sole solitary voice of intelligent black society. This is the BlackChannel.net radio. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Sitting in with me tonight is, of course, the one and the only Professor Black Truth. Welcome back to the Black Channel, brother.
Always black first, TVA, always.
This is the BlackChannel.net radio. A lot to talk about here tonight, a whole lot to talk about, and of course, when you have an extraordinarily heavy lift, you have to bring an extraordinarily heavy brother, and of course, Professor Black Truth is up to the task. Now, before we get started with anything else, make sure that you let your family, your friends, everybody that you know that you have found the home and the haven of intelligent black thought, and we are broadcasting live right now. So make sure you let everybody out there know that you are listening to the BlackChannel.net radio, just as we've done with 7 a.m. to let the world know that there's finally a serious effort underway to galvanize the masses. Not to drag them along, but to galvanize them. There is finally a serious mouthpiece and a serious voice that is speaking on black society and black issues. It's your time to let them know that it's not just one documentary, that they are able to see this and hear this every week. Only at the BlackChannel.net radio. Not a bunch of people just sitting around airing a bunch of dirty laundry and grievances, but people who actually have something sensible to say on everything. And we don't have nearly enough of that. So this will be your opportunity to join us on that. First of all, a very quick update here about 7 a.m. The documentary that is currently in development, finishing up final stages on editing here, and for the crowdfunding as it has proceeded. First of all, let me say that we've shocked the world. What usually takes people a month, more than a month, we were able to do it in 7 days. Don't tell me that there is not a hunger and that there is not a desire for this. Because I'm sitting here looking at the numbers. And the numbers make it very, very clear. Everybody, the numbers are undeniable at this point. The people want the real thing. The people want the truth. And nobody's giving that to them until now. Finally, you're going to get the truth. And I want to thank everybody who has dug deep. Everybody who has put aside the other things that you could have been doing. You could have been doing a lot of things. You could have done so many other things other than to actually support a real change. You could have been about talk to. You could have done that. You could have been disillusioned and said, you know what, there have been too many false starts before now. I'm just going to let us go to our fate. You could have done that too. But you didn't. You kept fighting. You kept swinging. You kept going for it. You kept at it. And now we've got real results sitting in front of us now. And I want to thank everybody, every single person, no matter how much you've given. Some could have given more. But no matter how much you've given, I want to thank you for participating. I want to thank you for finally letting your voice be heard in the most powerful way possible with your dollars. While other people are out there making up excuses, I want to thank you for doing everything you could. We had one person who actually gave the top tier. They paid the top tier to meet me. To meet me in person. No, this was a legitimate person. No, this was not a troll. They paid the top tier to meet me in person. And I'm honored to do so. That you believe in this that much. I'm honored. Because let me tell you, it's people like that. It's someone like that. That is what scares white supremacy. That is what scares the plantation mindset. That is what derails the coon train. When a serious black person enters the room, that is what derails the coon train. So, everybody out there, this has been tremendous. It's been incredible. And that's for me watching it. It has been incredible to watch this groundswell of support that nobody saw coming. That I believed in. But nobody saw it coming. And to have confirmation of this, to have real, literal, concrete confirmation of this has been tremendous. And I'm saying to everybody, we still got a month ahead of us. Let's dig in. Let's do what we need to. You know, when Karl Rove started calling the shots for the GOP, his goal was a permanent Republican majority. A permanent ruling majority. And I'm saying that I want permanent black empowerment. I don't want us to just be a one-hit wonder. I want this to be permanent black empowerment. And I want us to do what we need to do to make sure that occurs. So to everybody out there, thank you. Thank you very much for what you've done. Thank you very much for what you sacrificed. Thank you very much for all of the hood trinkets that you could have gotten and could have done. All of those trivial things that you could have indulged in. I want to thank you for putting that to the side and finally letting us move ahead with this. Let us finally sweep the failures of the previous generations and the previous generations of failures to the side. Finally. Thank you for putting us on a footing to be able to do that. Professor Truth, was there anything you wanted to tell them on this?
Actually, TBA, I think you pretty much said it all. The only other thing that I would add to it is intelligent black society is moving. And intelligent black society is good. That's all I have to say about that.
It's been a long time since we were able to say it's good to be black. Sometimes we have callers who call in and make you kind of question that, but it's good to be black, brother. It is good to be black. It really is. And I'm humbled by that. So once again, for everybody who's out there listening, let your friends, your family, everybody know, go ahead and post up and let them know. Black intelligence is on the march. Let's let them know that you found the place where they can get their dosage of it. Let them know. It's time. It's time. And we need this now more than ever. We need this now more than ever. Because we're being given not a wake-up call, they are just giving the full assault now. They're giving the full assault. And black men are running and hiding, cowering and cooning against people who are out for blood. Not to say that this is some cosmic indicator, but in case you didn't hear, Chris Brown got sentenced to 131 days in jail. How's that for your first offense, Chris? Now, 131 days, so that means roughly 4 months. And when he gets out, in the fall. I wonder if he's going to come out railing against the jail cell that he was in. Is he going to come out railing against the system? Or is he going to come out like Tupac? Fresh out of jail, California dreaming, fiending for money and alcohol. I wonder which way he's going to take. Because this should be his wake-up call as well. That, Chris, you're a young black man, but they ain't having no mercy on you. They sent their bed wench to do the setup. You went for the bait. They dangled you out there. And they just used you as a plaything. Are black men understanding and getting the point? That's the question now. Are you getting it? Because they are not playing with us. When was the last time that you saw a cop get sentenced for anything for killing? For killing an unarmed black person. When was the last time you saw that? And yet, they're sentencing this young man for something that happened 5 years ago. That's right, we just kept you hanging and dangling out there because we want to show you that we can do that. We want to show you that we can do that. They don't understand how serious the situation is, Professor Truth. They're not understanding it, or they're living in denial of it. And they're watching their favorite stars. I mean, they're going after your heroes now. They're going after your stars. And you would think that this would be a call to arms for black people. That the Lusitania was the call to arms in Europe. And that for black people, black men in particular, we're not understanding that we're not understanding a declaration of war when we see one, brother.
Of course not. We've been very slow off the mark in that regard. Black people don't see anything wrong until it affects them personally. Bigotry cannot just be something that we see or talk about. It's got to smack us upside. Oh, forget about smacking us upside the head. It's got to take our job. It's got to take our home. It's got to kill our kids. It's got to set fire to us while we're alive. That's when black people believe that racism and bigotry is something that needs to be dealt with. This is 50% of black people who are just slow. Slow for no reason. You know, TBA, they thought that you and I were so mean when we said that fully 50% of black people aren't with us and we're not with them. But here's the thing to remember. When you're at war, can you really win a fight when 50% of your army is either high on weed, thinking about sports, obsessed with their pathetic dating life, or otherwise trying to find ways to sleep with the enemy? Can you win a war like that? Can you win a single battle? No. Intelligent black society understands that the threat is real. And that the people out there who are looking for something to laugh at, well, you go on, you keep looking for comedians to entertain you. If you think that the threat that we're facing is a joke, then you, my friend, will die laughing. And that's as it should be. A thinning of the herd. Many people didn't like that analogy. TBA say that we're a herd. Well, we sure as hell aren't acting like civilized people, because civilized people act in their own best interest. So no, I'm not sorry that when I say that 50% of us need to go. And I don't care who gets you. It could be George Zimmerman. It could be the Ku Klux Klan. It could be the Republican National Committee or the man on the moon. The point is, if you're not with us, if you don't stand with intelligent black society, then you stand in our way. I mean, I actually listen to the broadcasts, as I do almost all of them. I rarely miss TBA on the mic because I learned so much from the brother. But that last broadcast, I was surprised. Surprised that there were people who actually had the nerve, the unmitigated gall to walk into the home, the haven, the super fortress of intelligent black thought and actually sit there and say that, well, we should look for economic models outside of the U.S. Okay, fine. But these are the same Negroes who say, well, I don't want to speak the white man's language. Okay, that's fine, too. What language are we going to speak? We ain't speaking the white man's language. The only thing worse then a lacking plan is no plan whatsoever. You actually have people sitting there saying that Cuba was a model for black people. Cuba was not established by black people. It's not ruled by black people. Doesn't operate in our interests. How the hell are they a model for anything? That one clown actually sat there on the last broadcast and said that Cuba was a socialist model of progress during the 1930s and 40s. Let me tell you something. Cuba was capitalist during the first half of the 20th century. That's why the mob was there. American corporations were there. Cuba didn't become socialist until 1959 when a young rabble-rouser named Fidel Castro came to power. That's when Cuba became socialist. See, this is what passes for black scholarship too many times. We have these people who are choked up on weed, who think that everything sounds good when you're high, so they call into the show where the sober people are at, the broadcast where the intelligent people are at, and they sit there and spout their nonsense that sounds good to them and make a fool of themselves. And black people can't be taken seriously because on the one side of the spectrum, we've got the choked up marijuana snorting clowns, and on the other end of the spectrum, we got Skip Gates, a black man with a little boy's name. And black intelligence society can't get a word in edgewise. This is why I cheer every time that black authority drops the hammer on some idiot who comes in here spouting nonsense. A lot of you have a problem with, well, black authority, why you gotta go so hard on them? You want to know why? It's because, as he said in his video essay, The Dumb and Intelligence Rant, too many times we allow some unthinking Neanderthal to crash into the proceedings when what we're supposed to do is to shout them down and ignore them. As black people, we've allowed every idiot, every Tom, Dick, and Harry to throw in their 2 cents. So when you black men who bring actual pieces of gold, we can't really find the gold pieces because they're buried under an avalanche of pennies. Black people, why is this so hard to understand? Intelligent black society is not the Miss Manners hour. It is about a witness and a warning, and that warning is given hard a lot of the time. You want to know why? Because that's what we're going to need to survive the threat that we're up against. White supremacy is on the march. Gentrification is running you out of town. Your family and friends are wondering what's going to become of them. And you're sitting here offended that black authority told somebody that you're not wanted here. Or he sits here and says what you just said was stupid. What else do you call stupid talk? Where I'm from, if someone's talking stupid, you call it stupid. You don't sit there trying to spare their feelings. Well, you could have said it a little bit nicer. Yeah, we could have, but we're not about nice here. We're about truth, not nice. And I don't want nice in this place. What I want is the cold, hard facts. Tell me what I need to know so that I may remain on this earth. Now, just to continue with some of the missteps and mistakes from the last broadcast, this clown, somebody called in and actually said that they actually were talking trash about me, saying that I was telling people that Cuba was a model that black people should follow. I never said any such thing. Now, Black Authority, who actually watched my video essays, he had to correct this brother and tell him, no, Professor Truth said that if black men show some hustle, no matter where they are, even an economic failure like socialist Cuba, black men can still be running things if we show some hustle. That's the point that I was making. It's amazing how many black people, black men in particular, only half listen to things. They hear what they want to hear and then ignore the rest. And then they wonder why they're totally ignored altogether. But there's some changes coming. Intelligent black society is starting to move. We're not on the march necessarily, but the eyes are opening. You know, Napoleon made a prediction about China. He said that the world should beware of China because when she awakens, Napoleon said, she will shake the earth. Well, the Africans are rising, both at home and abroad, and here is where it begins. And when the African arises, not only will he shake the earth, he will shake the waters of the sea and the very gates of heaven itself. Because the intelligent black man, the intelligent Africans, they're not going to be looking for unity. They won't be looking for good manners. They won't be looking to get along with everyone. They're going to be looking for power. And power shakes the earth, as it should, because power moves things. And intelligent black people are concerned with moving, not with sitting, not with a social club, but with getting things done. For those of you who have already made it clear that you've made your contribution to intelligent black society's first major foray into changing the culture, that's what 7 a.m. is. You are part of that elite. You're part of that elect, part of that select few. Black authorities said it, and it's still true now. We should not be afraid of small numbers. All that matters is whether or not those numbers brought enough resources to inflict their will. See, that's what the Jews figured out. They realized that they were never going to be able to really grow their numbers. So they said, forget about growing our numbers. Let's grow our economic power. And everywhere you look on this earth, if you see Jews, you see them sticking together and you see them running things. Whether it's the Jewish oligarchs in Russia, whether it is the Jewish ruling class in Brazil, or whether it's in the United States. That's not a matter of their religion. It's a matter of the fact that these people operate in their own best interests. Every time you see a Jew, you better believe that his psychologist is Jewish, his plumber is Jewish, the architect who built his home is Jewish, the tutor who teaches his kids piano lessons is Jewish, the cleaning service for his home is Jewish, the TV shows that he watches have Jews on it, his investment broker is Jewish, his retirement planner is Jewish, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, he makes sure that being Jewish becomes its own ecosystem and it takes on its own gravity. So for black people, we better start learning the same lessons. We better start learning the same lessons. Because I'm looking at the world around us and I'm seeing that our enemies are bringing out the long knives. 500 years ago, the model for imperialism was you take the poor and the ragged of your own lands, give them some weapons so that they can try to take over somebody else's. And you can take the people who you conquered and turn them into the underclass. That's what happened with black people. We have never taken stock of what happened during slavery. We just sit there and go, Master was swinging a whip. What happened was the European remade us, and we need to be honest about that. We were turned into a counterfeit European peasantry. We were turned into an artificial European serfdom. That's what happened during slavery. That's what happened to us. That's why we wear the master's names and we see things through his eyes. And as for the rank and file poor, the white serfdom, they were elevated because we were put at the bottom in their place. Power understood how to reshape entire nations. And as a result, we have been degenerated, but not anymore. Not anymore. Some of us are getting the message. Now, what are we going to do with this new platform that we've got? First order of business, take control of the social conversation. And from there, elevate the debate. There's not going to be any more of this sheepishness about saying that black people are going to have our share. There will be no more of this, well, we don't want to leave anyone out. Let me tell you something. Power is not concerned with bringing people to the table. It is concerned with refining itself. So yeah, I got news for you. Black economic empowerment, it's going to leave out a whole lot of people. It's going to leave out 50% of black people right now because I am through letting the weak set the pace for the strong, through letting the useless set the pace for the intelligent. If you're one of those people who thinks that you're going to sit on the sidelines, then you're going to get left behind. And that's the way that it should be. Because we have fallen so far behind, it's going to take everything we got to catch up. And it will take everything we have and more to surpass the powers that be. So yeah, when I told you years ago that future generations are going to have to take a real hard-nosed approach to our survival and our progress, it starts here. It starts here. Every time that you make a contribution to 7 a.m., what you are doing is you are striking a blow for black intelligent society. Every time that you sit there and say black authority, black truth, we're behind you. We are going to put our money where our mouths are. What you're really saying is that you understand the nature of the threat that you're against. You understand the game that white supremacy is playing and that you came not to play the game but to win the game. You understand that power is a 5-letter word spelled M-O-N-E-Y. You understand that. That's what your contribution to 7 a.m. means. And for the rest of you who just don't get it, who think that all this black empowerment talk is nothing more than something for you to do in between bouts of Candy Crush, well, You just hold your position. George Zimmerman is coming. Donald Sterling is coming. The Texas penal system is coming. The Asians who are looking not to make you into an underclass, but to get rid of you altogether, they're coming too. And you will be one of those who get left behind, and that is how it should be. Intelligent black society wasted too much time trying to hold on to people who we should have cut loose a long time ago. It's very simple. What is the ethos? What is the guiding light of intelligent black society? Either you get with it or you get left behind. There is no middle ground. Because last broadcast we heard what happens when you let the people in the middle ground talk. They'll sit there and say that we should look to Cuba for answers. Yeah, that's brilliant because it worked because Cuba is such a paradise for the people there. Or they'll sit there and say, I'm the textile king of California. I've never heard of you, brother. Do you actually weave your own fabric? No. Do you sell your own stuff? No. Then you're just a legend in your own mind. We don't let the delusional talk in the haven of intelligence. I suppose maybe 50 years of bastard babies and smoking weed and chasing jobs from white people. I suppose this is what it's done to us. So we're cutting all of that loose. And the people who went along with the program, you're getting cut loose too. We're not repeating the mistakes of the 1960s. Dr. King was running around with people who he had no business being with. Bayard Rustin, an open homosexual and a shameless apologist for white supremacy. Dr. King should have been the one who cut him loose. He shouldn't have waited for black people to tell him cut that guy loose. He should have done it himself. And we had other people like the Black Panther Party letting in people like Richard Aoki, who, what a surprise, turned out that this Asian guy was actually an FBI informant. Who could have seen that one coming? Who could have seen that one coming? As black people, we spend too much time making room for people who we should be pushing out. So no, I'm not going to tell black authority to take it easy on you. The hottest fire makes for the strongest steel. We are looking for black people who are taking a hard-nosed approach to our survival. You leave your pseudo-religious philosophy at the door. Religion ain't going to get us out of this. Leave your spirituality at the door. Spirituality ain't going to get us out of this. Leave your political ideology at the door. This is not a left-wing, right-wing issue. It ain't Republican or Democrat. It is literally black and white. Intelligent black society understands that, and that's why I am proud of those of you who have planted your flag here, who have drawn the line and made it clear to the entire world that we will be pushed no farther, not one step back. This enthusiastic response that you all have given to 7 a.m., this is the proof. This is the verification that what Black Authority and I have been trying to build for the last 5 years is bearing fruit. But you need to understand something. White supremacy doesn't sleep. Dr. Umar Johnson, you would have thought that they didn't know about him. They know about him. He sits here and goes up there. He sits there and goes to the Great Northwest expecting to give a lecture. He runs straight into white supremacy with an Asian face. What a surprise. What a surprise. You thought that Dr. Johnson was just a man who spoke to black people. White people have been watching him. And you better believe that if he gains too much momentum and gets too much attention, you better believe the first thing's going to happen is all of a sudden he's going to become a cause celeb. Don't believe it? What happened when Black Authority sat there and spoke about that young woman who got herself killed by her boyfriend? You had a smut peddler like Zane come out against Jason Black. And a lot of you were sitting there going, did they actually know about Jason Black? Damn right they know about him. I have watched news broadcasts, that, especially stuff about blackface, that seemed like it was cribbed from my blackface in white and yellow video. I almost felt like NBC was just cribbing what I had done. And every once in a while you see some online columns written by white people that almost seem like they're supposed to be a refutation of stuff that Jason Black has said. White supremacy is watching us. After the Trayvon Martin verdict, Jason Black had no problem opening up the phone lines, and next thing you know, here comes a flood of white supremacists. And you thought the white supremacists weren't here. You're crazy if you do. They're not just trolling, they're watching. So for those of you who have contributed, understand. You might have thought it was just words when we told you that you have put yourself in the crosshairs. But it's not words. This place is not going to be ignored for too much longer. Once the foray gets put out there, once we commit ourselves to taking a stand against white supremacy in their own front yard, the media that they use to shape the culture, it's on. It's on. It is on. Because you see, we've already started the process, thank God, of separating the useless from the motivated. But there's going to be a refining process still where we separate the motivated from the truly committed. When white supremacy decides, whoa, this intelligent black society, we've never heard black people talking like this. See, they're ready for a couple of these coons and clowns that you see on YouTube. They're ready for those guys. But the kind of talk that Jason and I do, they're not ready for that. The kind of fervor and the kind of focus that people like Johnny Ace bring to the table, that people like Mona brings to the table, that people like Garveyite brings to the table. When they're sitting here and seeing that they hear calls from all over the world, they're sitting here going, man, is the NSA on this? Are they logging those calls? You better, somebody must be. So those of you who have already made your contribution, just understand. This is where your commitment to the cause begins. And it's only going to become more challenging from here. So I expect you to sharpen your bayonets. I expect for you to go ahead and pound the shield, make sure the shield is solid. I expect for you to make sure that you've strapped yourself up with plenty of bandoliers of bullets. Make sure that the grenades are at the ready. You get your night vision goggles on, make sure that the helmet's on, strap on your boots, and get ready for battle. Because when 7 a.m. drops, when white supremacy understands that somebody is out there giving a clarion call that black people need to start speaking the language of true empowerment, they're not going to just let it stand. They will not just let it stand. They're going to come at us. And those of you who are ready for battle will be able to withstand the onslaught, and you're going to be able to push back. And those of you who were playing with this, or who thought to yourselves that, well, this is just real cute talk, you're going to be the first ones who sit there and say, whoa, this is too much for me, too heavy duty for me. And in that moment, you will consign yourself to be with the rest of those who are going to get culled. You cannot run from this fight. You can win it, but you can't run from it. And I don't know about you, but even if I did have a fallback position, even if I could run from this fight, I'm tired of running. They've had us on the run for half a millennium. That's why black people are so good at track. White man's had us running for 500 years. So no more running. We're making our stand here. Intelligent black society's drawing the line. We are going to engage the enemy. We are going to stop his forward progress. We are going to push him back, and we are going to overrun his position. And it starts here. It starts here.
It seems that being intelligent is coming back in style in a lot of places, but there are still a lot of people who are having difficulties with it. And what they're waiting on is to see who's going to win. You have to understand, freedom is a frightening concept to a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there who are scared to death at the responsibilities of actually having to carry ourselves. They're so used to white supremacy doing it for us. They're so used to white supremacy carrying the weight for us. And that's not what intelligent people do. Intelligent people do not look for oppressors to carry them. Intelligent people carry themselves. And this is paralyzing. That last broadcast that we did was paralyzing to them. They were frightened at the concept, grown men, frightened at the concept of taking care of themselves. That's what they were fighting against. When you say capitalism, you say, I'm taking care of myself. They couldn't even explain to you what system they would put into place to take care of themselves. They could not even define for you how such a system would work. They couldn't explain any of it. They just said, we need something different. Something different where we cooperate. In other words, by cooperate, they mean somebody brings me my daily meals. That's the kind of cooperation that they are looking for. And as grown men, I'm saying that what we need to do is put that to the side. You can't be a master when you're looking for someone else to bring you something. Mastery comes from doing it yourself. Mastery comes from building as a group on your own. All these Negroes want to talk about 300, but they don't show any type of Spartan initiative about themselves. They don't even slightly go into it because they have no concept of it. They want the glory of Spartans, but absolutely none of the effort. None. And that is what makes this place special. Because we don't want Spartans, and we damn sure don't want individuals who are dependent upon Spartans. We want Zulus on this team. We want Hannibal on this team. We want individuals who are built to last and built to build on this team. That's what we need, brother. Do you think Chris Brown gets the point now?
Maybe if he makes a couple more crappy record deals. That seems to be what Chris Brown is waiting on, because some brothers never learn. It's kind of like T.I. Every time you look up, he's getting arrested, and he thinks that it's cute. And Chris Brown doesn't seem to realize that every time that he pulls a stunt like this, white people are laughing at him. They're laughing at him. And this is part of the reason why, he may not think that it's a very big deal, but he better. And for the black people out there, if you like Chris Brown, that's fine. Listen to his crap. Just understand that he's a sideshow, and we don't have the luxury of time for any sort of distractions. We're supposed to be on a war footing. And the main thing about it is there used to be a time when black people smiled at the prospect of going into battle. That was back when we used to win our fights, before we stopped taking them seriously. You got stupid films out there, silly stuff like 300. And I'm sitting here going, if black people would just study their own history, they would know how black people had run the enemies of Africa out of Africa. They would know about how the Portuguese got run out of the Congo. They would know about the brilliant battles fought by King Cetshwayo in Azania, the place that you call South Africa. They would know about how he faced down the finest military minds that Britain sent in there. You might want to look up the Anglo-Zulu Wars. There's some books about it. One in particular, Like Lions They Fought. That's a pretty good book about it. Even Winston Churchill in passing alluded to some of these battles. As black people, we don't need to look to, white guys wearing Speedos in order to see a model of a group of people who overcame astounding odds. We've done that ourselves many, many, many times. But black people don't believe in looking to themselves. We believe in looking to white people because white people's ice is colder. Their stories are better. The odds that they faced were steeper. Here's the reason. That was the reason why I put out the video series about the real Greeks, or rather the real Greece is what it was actually called. And I pointed out to you that Alexander the Great got to Northern Africa and said, forget it, I'm not going any farther than that. And the same thing happened with the Romans. Hannibal stonewalled the Romans in West Africa because he was a West African. And Queen Makeda stonewalled the Romans in East Africa. After the Romans got stomped by Hannibal, they looked and said, we're not going to go any farther into West Africa. Those guys play too rough. Then they figured, hey, we already got a beachhead in Egypt. We'll just keep going on down the Nile. Queen Makeda said, you're not going any farther. You don't have to look to white people for inspiration. In fact, you shouldn't look to them for inspiration. Your history is better if you're willing to look at it. But then again, you got to value yourself. Do you value yourself? Do you value being black? Do you see any value in that? Is black a club that you would want to belong to? I'm talking about, let's take the white media influence out of this one for a second. Even if there was never anything like blackface, if there was never anything like the minstrel shows, if neither Stepin Fetchit, Amos and Andy, or Tyler Perry existed, would you still look and say, black is a team I want to rep? It's an organization that I'm willing to give everything to. If you do, then the first thing I'm going to ask you is, how much do you know about it? I mean, it's just amazing to me that as black people, we actually think that we're going to have something if we don't value ourselves. And value yourself does not mean you sit there and go, look at my new hair weave. Look at my new shoes. I got some new rims on an old car. That's not valuing yourself. Valuing yourself starts with you looking in the mirror and saying, what do I want and how do I intend to get it? Every morning is supposed to be an act of self-affirmation, not through what you say, but through what you do. Because at the end of the day, that's all we got. You look at the great deeds of other men, and what you see is what they built. You know, there was a clown who actually sat there and had the nerve to try to throw mud on that and say, what's all this talk about building? What's all this talk about building? Well, that makes sense from a man who's never done anything. Somebody who thinks that life is a joke. It makes sense that they would laugh at the prospect of building something because they don't see how that's important. Intelligent black society is going to be the cutting edge of getting our people back to where we're supposed to be. And when those first TV spots for 7 a.m. drop, those of you who put skin in the game, you're going to be looking and sitting there and going, yeah, it was worth it. When do we do this again? And the reason why is you're going to feel something within you that African people haven't felt in half a millennium. Power. You will feel power in your chest. You will feel power in your heart instead of the fear and the confusion and the disappointment and the disenchantment that you've been feeling. You're going to be feeling power there instead. And it's not going to be the cheap, we shall overcome. We ain't singing songs. Intelligent black society don't sing. Intelligent black society does not chant. Intelligent black society does not march or demonstrate. Well, actually, intelligent black society does believe in demonstrations. A demonstration of force. A demonstration of power. But we're not interested in showing how many helpless people we can gather in one spot. Because power does not respect weakness. Don't believe me? Please tell me. What did Occupy Wall Street change? All of those white kids with their college degrees and no jobs complaining that they're not getting what they should be getting out of life. What did it change? What did it change? It changed nothing. Because powerless people standing around bemoaning their lot doesn't change anything. Now you look at the people who did get things done. Barack Obama is kissing George Clooney's behind. You want to know why? Because George Clooney comes from a family with money. You might want to look up George Clooney's family history. You might want to look that up sometime. George Clooney snaps his fingers and Barack Obama comes running. And you think it's because he's starstruck with Hollywood. No, it's because Hollywood believes in opening up the spigot to get what they want. The gays believe in opening up the money. They believe in opening up the wallet to get what they want. Corporate America believes in opening up the wallet to get what they want. And that's the reason why the gays stopped demonstrating. And you never see the Hollywood movers and shakers demonstrating. They don't have to. You talk about the president, they talk to him. Now, as black people, there's also something else we're going to have to do, and that is we have to define our existence on our own terms as intelligent black people. One of the things I think that we should do, if this is not for now, this is later down the road, but we need to start having some reminders of where we've been and why it is that we're doing this. Dr. Ben talked about instead of waiting for the government to give you a holiday, you need to take one. I go for that. One of the great things that the Jews do is they're constantly reminding themselves why they do what they do. All these Jewish holidays, you think it's because they're so pious. No, it's political strategy. The Jews are constantly reminding themselves of the Exodus, constantly reminding themselves of how they were moved from one land to the next. Never mind the fact that every time the Jews got moved on, black people usually got moved on too. You might want to look back and see what happened during the former regimes in Britain. That when Britain, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, someone in the chat room, I think it was under King Edward where the Jews were expelled. But guess what? The blackamoors who Shakespeare wrote about, they got expelled at the same time for economic reasons. And then you look at how the Jews got themselves booted out of Spain. Yeah, but the Moors got booted out at the same time too, exactly on the same day. So, but the difference between the blacks and the Jews is the Jews remember these acts of injustice. They remember how the white people mistreated them and misused them. The Jews say, never forget, while black people like to say, never remember. Always forget. Well, I'm not forgetting anything. And I'm not going to forgive anything either. You sound bitter. Damn right. And I ain't going to be happy until I've spread some of the bitterness around. Because when I am at war, I fight it with everything I have. I fight it with all my heart, all my soul, all my mind, all my will, all my bitterness, all of my joy, all of my contempt. I fight it with everything. I bring everything to the table. And TBA does the exact same thing. That's the reason why both of us got a telephone book, almost a telephone book full of people who call themselves challenging us online and offline, and we have zero defeats. We have faced down the fakers, the frauds, and the phonies. And intelligent black society is still standing. Hey, intelligent black society is undefeated when we fight. So yeah, for a lot of you who didn't understand what this offensive was about, we are not in control of our community because we are not in control of the culture. And we are not in control of the culture because we do not control any of the institutions that define the culture, starting with the media. How much media real estate do we have? Does it operate in our interest? How the world are you going to tell black people to stop focusing on hair weave and tennis shoes and tell black people that the Real Housewives of Forever are not a priority unless you can reach a large number of people? One of the biggest problems with visual media that arose in the 20th century is because of how powerful it is, how seductive it can be. You can sit there and show a bunch of Fifth Avenue whores, and black women will sit there saying, I want some Manolo Blahnik shoes. Why? Because a white woman wore them. That's the power of media. You can get a bunch of black men saying, yeah, we need to man up. How are we going to man up? We need to man up like them guys in 300 did. Oh, you mean the white guys wearing the Speedos? Yeah, that's the power of media. You know, I was reading an article by Ed Bernero. Ed Bernero was the creator of Criminal Minds, one of CBS's top dramas. And what he said was that basically people don't understand how media works, that there's the surface level and then there's the underlying psychological level. And it's the underlying psychological level that people respond to. And somebody asked him, you know, what exactly does that mean? And he said, well, for instance, almost all the TV dramas that you see are based on the structure of a family. There's the lead character who's essentially the dad of the show, and you have the secondary character, not always female, who is the mother of the show, and then you have these secondary characters, the rest of them who are basically the children. That's how TV is structured. You see it as a family, and the lead character is the father of the family leading things and guiding things. Another television executive was asked, how did he see himself in the media? And he said, I don't see myself as being in the business of entertainment. I see myself as being in the business of mind control. Now, the way that he tried to describe it, he was talking about advertisers. I don't want people to touch that dial. But those of us who actually understand how media shapes the mentality of people, we understand what he was really saying. You want to know why it is that most of you who watch TV all the time, why you defer to white people? It's because that's all you see. You see TV shows where the black characters are side characters, usually getting killed. They're expendable. And every time you see them, they're answering to some white person. They're asking some white person's opinion, even if you got a cop show where a black man is the sergeant or the lieutenant who commands the other cops. He usually has to look at the slick white guy and say, I'm going to let you do whatever you want to do. But do you notice how it never works the other way around? You never see a show where you got a black cop who can tell his white commander, I'm going to do what I want to do. They don't back him. It doesn't work that way. That's programming. So for those of you who watch too much television, it's no wonder that you come to the haven of intelligent black thought and you still sit there and act like it's all just happening on TV. Intelligent black society is not looking to be entertained. We are looking to exercise mind control. We want control of our own minds. And we are not looking to be part of some get along to go along coalition. We are going to be in charge. Because that's what we're supposed to be. Oh, this sounds like racial supremacy. No, racial supremacy is when white guys come along and say that we would be better off if we got rid of all of you. We're not talking about getting rid of anybody, but we are talking about pushing back the barbarians at the gate. We are talking about ensuring that our people do not fade from this earth. And if you got a problem with that, so what? But Professor Truth, it doesn't sound like black empowerment is for everyone. It's not. Because not everyone is for black empowerment. Not everyone likes the idea that black people should still be on this earth 150,000 years from now, just as we were 150,000 years ago. A lot of people have a problem with that. A lot of people look and say, well, there's something wrong with dark skin and curly hair. You may see that as a problem. I see it as a solution. And I make no apologies for the fact that I say black first. I don't see Asians having to apologize for putting themselves first. You don't see Hispanics apologizing for putting themselves first. Gays don't do it, and white people damn sure don't apologize. So you can get the hell out of here with all of that. Well, can't you just make it a little more palatable? Palatable to who? Intelligent black society is all about sharp elbows. We are all about making sure you catch a few. Because for too long we have been practicing how to be assimilationists and how to amalgamate ourselves with everyone. And at this point we're about to amalgamate ourselves right off the planet. Will you go ahead and take that trip into oblivion? I'm standing my ground. And I'm staying right here. And I intend to do what I can to contribute to the others who are like-minded and like-doing. I'm not simply interested in those who think as I think. I'm interested in those who do as I do. And that is why the Black Channel is being successful. And that's the reason why you're here. And those of you who have decided to nominate yourselves through your contributions to this effort, you've nominated yourselves to be part of that elect and that elite. You are going to be the ones who are left standing. And when other black people see that intelligent black society is winning, then there's going to be a whole lot of people who previously said, oh, y'all were just too harsh. They're going to be sitting here looking for a way to say, yeah, we were down with the team from the get-go. Yeah, you'll show up late. But don't worry. We got a list of those who were serious. And those of you who were just full of talk, well, what can I say? You didn't mind being at the back of the bus for white supremacy, so I'm sure you won't mind being in the back of the bus for intelligent black society. Now chew on that for a while.
If you wonder if we're on to the right thing, if you wonder, are we going in the right direction, you take a look at our numbers. Don't listen to rhetoric. Take a look at our numbers.